Today's lecture is all about sessions. We will discuss what are sessions in a web server and how to do session handling in PHP. So sessions are created on server. A session is global for a web application. It means that if I create a session and store some data in a session in page A, and later on I want to access the data in another page in my application, let's say page C, I can access that value. So the session holds the values as long hold the values until we close the session or the session is timed out by the server. Each session is unique for a user or a web client. It means that if I open up my browser and I access a web server, a website on a web server, and a session is created, that session is unique for me, and this is done by the server by assigning a unique session ID to each incoming request. So if another person accesses the same server or the same website from his computer, a unique session will be created for that particular user. So if any data is stored in the session for me, that will be unique to me, and if any data is stored for another user on the server in his session, that data will be for that user only. The data of that user is not accessible to me, and the data in my session is not accessible to the other users. Now we will see how to do session handling in PHP. In PHP, we create a session or open a session using a function called session start. When this function is called, server checks whether a session already exists or not. If the session does not exist, server creates a session and assigns a unique session ID. Their session ID is also sent to the browser, and browser saves it as a cookie. Now whenever a request goes from the same browser to the server, the session ID is sent to the server. The server matches that session ID and opens up the session that matches with that session ID. This is how a session start works. Now we will see how to store data in a session variable, or how we can access data from a session variable. So a session variable in PHP is an associative array, and to create a session variable and assign value to a session variable, the syntax we use is $_session, then in bar bracket the session variable name, and then equals to and the value that we want to assign to a session variable. We can create as many session variables as is required by our web application. To read back the value of a session variable, we will read the value by using the same syntax $_session, the session variable name, and assign this value to a local PHP variable. If we want to destroy all the data stored in the session, we will call the function session_unset, and if we want to close the session or destroy the session, we will call the function session_destroy. We will use these functions in creating a login mechanism for our shopping cart application. However, before going into the code of login and authentication pages and logout pages, I have organized the pages in a certain structure. So let's first see. This is our shop folder in our web folder. This contains the shopping cart application. Now all the user side pages which contains the home page that will show the list of categories to the product categories to the user, and the list of product pages, and then the shopping cart mechanism to add products to the shopping cart, to save order, to view the items in the cart, and to check out. All these pages are user side pages. They are in the root folder of our web application, and all the administrative pages or the back end of our website are in the admin folder. All the pages in the admin folder should have restricted access. It means only administrator or a person who has a valid login password should be able to log in and then call these pages or use these pages. The admin side has the admin section or the back end of our website has CRUD pages for category. CRUD pages, CRUD means create, update, delete, and view pages for products, view order page, and update order pages. Now we will see how to create a login, a simple login mechanism for our administrative side of the website. We will create. I have already written the code of the pages. The login page is named index page, which is the home page of the administrative side. Then we have an authentication page that will actually check the login password from the database, and if the login password is correct, it will take us to the view product page, and if the login or password is incorrect, it will take the user back to the index page so that he can try another login password which is correct. So let's see the code of these pages. Okay, before going into the code, I have created a table by the name users in my MySQL database. It has 3 fields: user ID, which is an integer auto increment field, user login name, and user password. I have already inserted a user data by name. Hasib is the username, and same is the password. So that if I want to log in, I will enter these credentials saved in this user table. If the credentials will be correct, then I will be allowed to log into the admin section of my website. So this is the login page. Login page is a simple page. It has only a form with 2 text boxes. First one for the username, second text box is for the password field to get the password from the user, and third control on the form is a submit button written sign in on it. When the user will press the submit button, the data will be passed to authenticate.php page using the post method. Okay, the password field has a type password, so that when the user will type the password, it will not be displayed on the screen. When the user will in the start, before the form, I have written a small PHP code to check whether some data is received in message variable or not. If a data is received from the server in a message variable, read the data from the message variable and then display it. I have written these lines to display the error message, which is your login and password is incorrect, please try again, to the user if the login password is incorrect. Now let's see the authenticate page. Now the authenticate page will receive the username and password from the login page. It has 2 more variables, a page variable and a message variable. In the page variable, we will store the name of the page on which the user will be on which the server should be redirected. and this is the same message variable which will be sent back to the login page if the login or password is incorrect. So on line 9 I have established connection with the database. On line 10 I have written the query to be executed. The query is get user ID from the users table where login and password provided by the user match with the username and password stored in the table. Now we will execute the query on line number 13. When we will execute the query, either we will receive a record containing user ID of the user, or we will not receive any record. If the username and password will be correct, means they will match with a record in our user table, then we will receive a record containing user ID of that particular user. And if the login and password don't match with any record in our users table, then no record will be received from the server. So this is what I have checked on line number 14. I have used an if statement to check whether a record is received, and if the record is received, I have stored the name of the page on which I want to take the user. So in case the user has successfully logged in, we will redirect to view product page, and we will save the user ID of the user in our session variable. So I have created a session variable by the name user ID, and I have stored the user ID received from the database in this session variable. And if the login password doesn't match and no record is received, we will come to the else part. In this case, we want to take the user back to the login page, so I have saved the name of the login page, which is index.php, in the page variable. I have assigned 0 to the session variable user ID, and I have stored this error message, login or password is incorrect, please try again, in the message variable. Then we have freed the space by the result variable. We have closed the connection from the database, and the last line we have written the code to redirect to whatever value we have in the page variable. So page variable will either have the value viewProduct.php or index.php. So based on this logic, either we will redirect back to login page, or we will redirect to view product page. I forgot to mention this session start variable. The session start variable, because in this code I want to create a variable in the session area, and I want to store some value in the session variable, in that session variable. So it means I need to create or open a session. That's why the first line in my code is session_start. This is a requirement as well. Whenever you have to call the session start function, it should be the first line of code in your page. This function will try to create a session on the server if the session does not already exist, and if the session exists, it will open a session and get access to the session area. Just for your information, a session on server is physically a file created on the server. The file name is the same as the session ID that the server assigned to a user, which is unique for each user, and that file is created in the temp folder on the server. Okay, so this is the login authentication page. We will also see how to do the logout. In the logout, first of all, we will again call the session_start to open up the session area. Then we will destroy all the variables, or in short, all the data we have stored in our session. And at the third line is we will close or destroy the session, and then the last line we will ask the server to redirect back to index.php page. Basically, redirection means that after executing these lines, the default behavior of web server is whenever you call a page, let's say logout page, it will execute the code and it will show the output of this page to in the browser. It will send the output from this page to the browser. But sometimes we don't want to send output to the browser. Instead, we want to complete the execution of one page, and then we want to tell the server to load another page and start executing that page before going back to the before sending any output back to the browser. So this mechanism or this process of completing execution of one page and then asking the server to load another page and start executing it is called redirection. It means we redirect the normal behavior of the server and ask the server to, instead of sending output of current page, start executing another page in the server directory and send output of that page. Okay, so now let's check these. This is our users table. It has only one record with username received, password received, and the user ID is 1. Now let's try to log in. This is my default page in the admin section, which is index.php. It has 2 fields. Password is also received. See, it has redirected to view.php page, and as we have just seen from our code that the server will redirect to view product page when the login and password is correct. Now let's see, if I enter incorrect login password, what will happen. Let's say I give any other password which is not Hasib. See, it has redirected back to the login password page. Oh, there is a mistake. I forgot to send the message variable. So if we have to make, we will change here if our message variable is empty, it means the login was successful, so we will redirect to view product page. And but if our message is not empty, it means there was an error. So in that case, we want to send the value of message variable as well. I have added a query string, and I have created a variable msg and assigned it the value of message variable, which will be this message. So now let's check this out. So we have got the message displayed, login password incorrect, please try again. So this is our login page. I think I need to make one more correction. In case of success, we should go to view category page, not view product page. View category. Yes, view category page. So in case of success, we should go to let's check this out. Yes. So this is for today's lecture. Thank you.